Welcome to the latest installment of the Aras Innovator demo series. Today, we're going to see Streamline your product development process with program management. The demo series runs for 30 minutes and features all demo with no sales pitch. Each installment showcases a different capability of the Aras platform. During the webinar, everyone is on global mute. If you have any questions, please submit them in the questions panel within GoToWebinar, and we'll answer as many as possible in our Q&A session at the end. This demo is being recorded, and when the recording is available, you'll receive an email with the link, so you can share it with your colleagues or review it again for reference. We have on the line today Gary Wilmot, Aras Solutions Consultant. Gary, take it away.
Thank you, Brenna. And thanks to everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for today's demonstration. My name is Gary Wilmot, and I'll be presenting the live demonstration of the Aras Program Management application. Just to set the stage very briefly before we dive into the demo, a little background on the Aras Innovator Program Management application. Like many applications that we provide in the Innovator platform out of the box, it's based on industry standard and accepted principles. So in this case, it's based on the principles designed and standards designed and managed by the Program Management Institute and published in the Program Management Body of Knowledge Reference Book, or PMBOK. So if you're familiar with that, you'll be well on your way to being familiar with the application, utilizing some of the principles such as work breakdown structure, critical path, milestones, phases, and so on. So we'll cover those during the live demo. The application contains both planning and execution aspects. So for the project planning, as you would expect, we're able to define and manage activities, milestones. We can do scheduling from a forward or backward perspective, and templates to enforce your organizational standards and for data reuse are available. The real thrust of the application is on project execution. It gives you real-time updates on all project statuses, both as a whole and as individual activities through a dashboard view. Very important is the integration into the Aras Innovator platform. That allows you to attach deliverables of any item type as a document, CAD files, bill of materials, and that is a live link to the managed items within Aras Innovator, automatically provided for you. And then as you would expect, there are viewing capabilities such as looking at an overall schedule in a Gantt chart view or running reports. So with that, let's go ahead and look at Aras Innovator. I've already logged in as a user, Terry Adams, and for the sake of today's demo, Terry will be filling the role of a project manager. I'm running Aras Innovator version 12 SP3. If you're using Aras and you're still on version 11, that's fine. A lot of the functionality will carry right over. The user interface, as you'll notice, has been updated. So if Terry wants to get an idea of what's going on throughout his implementation or his organization as far as project, he can simply go to his table of contents and do a search on projects. Here I'm seeing an empty search, so I'm seeing all our projects in our demo system. But like any other project page, it comes complete with what we call the blue bar simple search, columns that are sortable and searchable. So for example, if I have project numbers I want to sort by, I can certainly do that. I can sort by scheduled due date. I can search on things, a simple search such as something containing the phrase or starting with the phrase printer. I can also search on things such as who's the project manager for a specific project. So as you can see, as your implementation fills up in the real world with many dozens or hundreds of projects, Innovator makes it very easy to zero in on the ones that you're interested in. You'll notice that in the columns here, we have out of the box a maximum of 12 phases, and right here from the search result, we give you a dashboard view to give you a real-time update on the status of the project as a whole and each particular phase or stage that it's in. So as you can see here, this particular project 1919 had 3 phases and they're 100% complete. Project 1922 is into its second phase and we're going to join it in progress in the second phase. A couple other things though before we get into the project specifically. We mentioned the idea of templates. So here we can see if a project was based on a specific template, or you can create them on the fly as well. But in the real world, we see many people have standard projects that are either identical or very similar each time they utilize a project. So we give you the ability for manage templates. We'll talk a little bit about scheduling. Here you can see these projects are set to interactive scheduling. What that means is that in this case, Terry, as the project manager, needs to intervene before any project can move from one activity to another. So someone may sign off and say their activity is 100% complete, but it still comes to Terry to oversee and make sure it's okay to move on. If you don't wish that amount of interaction, you can set it to be automatic. So whenever anyone that is a contributor completes and signs off on an activity, it will automatically move on and notify the subsequent participants. So let's dive into a specific project. As you would expect in Aras Innovator, it has a form with properties or metadata. These are the ones that come out of the box, but you are fully able to add or configure these to be any way you want. When we talk about the scheduling, you'll notice that there's a target start and a scheduled start, target finish, and scheduled finish. So that comes into play with the scheduling type that we've chosen. You can be forward scheduling or backward scheduling. Forward scheduling means I've added a target start date, and based on the tasks and durations of each one, the scheduled finish is calculated automatically and updated if any changes are made to durations. If we were to use backward scheduling, that would allow us to put in a target finish date that we need the project to be completed by, and then we can see if we're on track with our scheduled start date to encompass all of the durations of the activities and so on. So down here in the lower part of the screen is really the meat of the project. Here we have one that's designated as a modification to our standard product, which is a printer. We also have search available right here. One of the things you'll notice is it's broken down into a work breakdown structure. So we have phases, activities. We can also specify milestones, which are basically sign-off activities. You'll notice that most everything seems to be in red. So this doesn't mean that these activities are late. This red in this view designates that these are on the critical path. So if you're familiar again with the critical path philosophy, this allows you to designate which activities are critical to complete on time so as not to put the subsequent activities at risk. You can see in our project, sample project here, things are pretty tight. They need to stick to schedule. We do have some, though, that have a little leeway that if the predecessor, which is designated from each activity number, and then a predecessor can be designated to be required. If the predecessor misses its completion date, this particular task would still be okay and still have some time to complete. We see here that each of the activities has a lead role designated and also a leader that is assigned to that particular role. Now, we talked about that we were able to launch this project from a template. So let's pause briefly and take a look at what that template looks like and compare it to an actual progress in progress. So here's our beginning template. You'll notice that durations are set, and these would be as you would expect in a typical project, but can certainly be modified as you launch this as a specific project. But you'll notice here that the lead role is defined, but you don't see anything here about the actual person or individual that is filling that role. So that allows you to be flexible when creating a project to make assignments that are up to date and relevant to that particular specific project. So I would go ahead and launch this, create a new project based on this template. And that's what we did in the printer modification project. So the question is, how does the leader role get assigned? This is taken care of in every project on a team assignment. So you can interactively add roles and then the individual that takes the lead role for those assignments. And then those become active in this particular project. A couple things on the status here. You saw it in the project item search page. So you'll notice color coding. Green means everything was completed on time. Yellow means something is still active. It hasn't hit its deadline, but it's within 1 week of its deadline. And anything that's red would say that it's overdue or has actually passed its due date. So if we want to go ahead and talk a little bit about creating a new project, let's go ahead and do that interactively. So I'll simply go to my project table of contents. I'll say I want to create a new project. And here's where we take a look at the project plan as far as what we want to designate our project to be. So we'll just call this a demo project. And also we can designate whether we want to use a template, what template we want to use. To keep things simple, we'll go ahead and use the simplified product development. We'll use forward scheduling, and we'll put in a target date of today so that we can see this update quickly, and then we'll go ahead and accept that. So now we have our new project. It's ready to go. It's based on that template we've already seen. We see that we can go ahead and open this up. And as we saw before in the template, at this point, some of the columns are still not filled in. So we have time to go ahead and think about and design what would be specific for this project. So let's do that by going to the team role. We see the roles are already designed in the template. Those could be overridden or edited by a project manager such as Terry. But for this case, let's go ahead and make assignments in the tab itself. So I'll just quickly grab some of our typical users that are in our system. I'll add Mike and give him a role. We'll call him process. We'll add another row. Let's perhaps add Brian Cox. Make him design, and one more so that we can show some interaction. We'll go ahead and, in this case, also make Terry Adams the project manager. So I can just search on his name, add Terry, and we've got our assignments made. We'll make him a manager. Going back to the project plan, you'll see that nothing has updated yet. So I still have flexibility here to go in, make modifications. In other words, I haven't committed this project yet into Aras. I can do that by simply hitting save. And you'll notice it goes ahead and based on the team assignments and the default durations that we've used from the template, we now start to populate this and we see actual dates for start, date, and finish. And if we go back to the project, we'll see that our target finish was a little overly optimistic. In reality, this would take several months, but for the sake of the demo today, we're just going to keep it there. All projects, like all items in Aras, have a life cycle. This is the life cycle out of the box. You can configure this any way you want, but basically this gives us, again, flexibility to work or collaborate on designing a project before we ever expose it out into the implementation or the active users and start making assignments. So let's demonstrate how we'll do that. We'll take this project, which at this point has not been activated, and we'll promote it to that active state. This now starts to allow others to see what's going on in the project and starts to commit it. And it also, as we do that, will update all of this particular information. Finally, to get this active into the implementation, or to start the clock ticking, so to speak, we'll come up here and we'll say, let's schedule the project. Okay, make sure that takes just a second to update. That's fine. And now you'll notice that the status columns start to be active. So until we hit that schedule, it was really just waiting for us to start the clock, so to speak. But now this becomes live and notifications go out, due dates start to be assigned, start dates, and so on. So to get a feel for the interaction of how a user collaborates and contributes to a project, let's take a look at this first activity. We see the assigned leader is Mike Miller. So I've already logged in as Mike in a different browser. So if I come into Mike's interface and say, let's take a look at his in-basket, you'll see that in real time, he has got an assignment on our demo project. So he can take the time to go in to look at any of the information involved in the project. But for sake of time, what we'll do is go ahead and say that Mike wants to sign off on this. So he can go ahead and click on it. He can have a detailed time record, and he can have additional individuals that work with him on the project. And this allows him to be the leader and have ultimate responsibility to sign off, but he can have others contributed as well. That Mike has signed off as 100% complete. Now, notice there's a deliverables tab here. It's empty. You can designate that every activity can have a deliverable or is required to have a deliverable. So in this case, you can see the deliverable is option. But if Mike needed to produce something like a document or a CAD model or drawing, this could be set as required, and he could not sign off on this without actually attaching that deliverable. But we'll go ahead and just say he's done. Let's just get rid of these real quick. So here we'll show that you can have additional participants in here. They can designate who's responsible. And also, if you wish to track in more detail, you can set the date they worked on it, the date they finished, amount of time, and so on. We'll go ahead and fill in this one as well. So now when I go ahead and sign off on this, you'll notice that when we update our search, that activity and that assignment falls off of Mike's in-basket. So this is really powerful. It allows Mike to see what's pending or what is currently he needs to deal with. And looking at scheduled and start dates, he can plan his priorities. But once he finishes something, it's no longer showing as active, unlike email, where you might have stray emails sitting around and wonder which ones have I worked on or which ones do I still need to work on. So that's interaction from a user. Let's go back to Terry as the manager. Let's go ahead and close this up and say he comes back in. Here we see the demo project. Let's open it. Now remember, we were using interactive scheduling, which means that Terry needs to actually look at this in detail before anything moves on or before the status updates. So I went ahead and did this, and you'll notice now the status in real time updates. and Terry can get an idea of where this is based on each activity, or going back to the individual project. You'll see he can see that from a dashboard view as well. Some other things that we'll show quickly before we wrap up is the ability to see from a high level what's going on with this project, how much time is assigned, and what's coming up over the next near future in the schedule. This is an out-of-the-box report that we give you, but you can certainly create your own or create your own self-service reports to view or collate the information from the projects any way you want. Talk briefly when we go, let's go back to our in progress one. We talked a little bit about deliverables. Here we see some examples that you can have any type of item in Aras Innovator as a deliverable. So for example, I can click and go right to this document without having to search or browse for it. And that is a standard document type in Aras. I can go in, I can look at if I need to review this, if I need to find out what was created in this. And then if I was starting in the document, of course, like anything else in Innovator, I could do a where used, and it will show me if I wanted to see where this document originated from, I could go right back to the project that we're already in. That is a digital thread that's allowing us to trace back and forth and keep things in sync here. And they are revision specific. One last thing we'll do is talk about programs. So if I go back to my table of contents, so we have projects, which is pretty self-explanatory based on what we've seen. Programs are a parent level item that allow you to group projects together in a more global fashion and group them together in a way that makes sense to you. So for example, let's just open a sample program. You can see that a sample program can have multiple projects attached to it, and you can designate parameters such as customer or any type of properties that you want to be common to the overall project, although each project itself can be unique. So for example, I can go ahead, say I want to add another project to this. I'll add my demo project. It's now part of this program. And if I was to go back and just do another search on my projects, open up the demo project, you'll immediately see that that association is tracked, and I can see this project is now part of this program, and it could be part of multiple programs. That will conclude in the time we have the overview demo of interacting and using and managing projects with Aras Innovator Program Management. So we hope you've seen the benefits of being able to easily create from standard templates and company standards a project quickly, launch it on its way, but still have complete control over who can participate, what their requirements are as far as assignments, and then looking back, be able to see how much time or how many items are related to a specific project, looking back at any time as an audit trail on that digital thread. So with that, I'll turn it back to Brenna for any questions.
Thank you, Gary. Make sure to enter in any questions you have into the questions panel. We'll begin with a few of our submitted questions. Now, Gary, can I use my own project number, or is it assigned by Innovator?
Good question. The answer is actually either. So like any other item in Aras Innovator, this is really one of the key benefits of being integrated into the Innovator platform. It inherits the ability to use what we call a sequence generator that can automatically create project numbers. You're not required to do that. You could set up your item to just have a numeric field where someone could type in a project. So it's flexible either way.
Next, we have a question that is, are there advanced reporting abilities to see multiple projects simultaneously rather than just a phase progress?
Yes, so we give you that dashboard view and that kind of summary report out of the box. But again, because the particular projects are part of the platform, you can use something like self-service reporting to go ahead and report on a project as an item and you can display any of the related activities, tasks, deliverables, people, and that can be easily filtered or searched on at runtime for the project. So not out of the box, but we give you the flexibility to create reports on projects just like any other item in Aras Innovator.
Great. Our next question is, what functionality in the demo is available in the open version of Innovator?
So the great majority really of what you've seen today is part of the open source product engineering application, which includes project management. So basically everything you saw me do today, with the exception, I'll just back up on the self-service reporting, would not be available that I referred to. Also exporting to Excel or Word, that requires the subscription. But basically virtually everything else you saw today is available in the open version.
Great. We have time for one more question. Are project templates versionable?
Oh, yes, they absolutely are. And that's a good point. If we think about, here you can see templates are managed as a unique item in Aras Innovator. Yes, the answer is that you can apply version and revision capability to the templates. You can see that they can have a lifecycle status and that can interact with permissions. So what this actually allows you to do is, as you're creating projects, it allows you to experiment with them maybe in a test environment or even in production, make sure everything's right. And then, as we know, things never stay the same. So as your processes evolve and change, you can update your projects to reflect them by creating a new version, but still have the access through the digital thread back to the previous version at any time.
Well, thank you, Gary, and thank you for your questions. For any we didn't answer, they will be addressed directly within the next few days. I'm going to leave you with our upcoming demo series topics. On January 9th, there will be a demonstration on leveraging SolidWorks PDM beyond engineering. And then on January 30th, there will be a demonstration on harnessing engineering data to create connected process plans. You can register for upcoming demos and view any past demos at aras.com/demoseries. We'd love for you to join the Aras community at community.aras.com. There, you'll find blogs, community projects, and forums, all with a lot of great information. Be sure to connect with Aras on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where we share the latest updates and news, product information, and more. Finally, don't miss our annual ACE conference this March in Boston. We'd love to see you there to answer your questions, get your feedback, and take the opportunity to network with the Aras community, the Aras team, our partners, and more. Make sure to register today with your demo discount code. We thank you for joining us and look forward to having you visit next time. Have a great day.